I want to talk about a little franchise called here we go, Spider-Man. This guy right here, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy. A really solid trilogy. I mean, yes, the third one was kind of weak. Super ambitious, the third movie. Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire. It was a great movie. I saw this when I was a kid, right? Like a little kid, but seeing it later on in my years, growing up, I realized just like how well put together this film is. You got such a great costume. Like this is the Spider-Man costume when I think live action Spider-Man. They did a great job. There's no way in heck Peter Parker made it, but it's wonderful. Um so Sam Raimi, Evil Dead guy came in for this. And once I got older, I realized that yeah, you can totally see his directing in this movie, like the comedy, the the cinematography, the camera zooms and swoops and everything, and I think that did a really good job. If you look at the way he does POV shots and he kind of like combs through forests and stuff in his Evil Dead work, as well as like the zoom ins for some like lines and stuff, you can totally see how he got to do like Peter Parker swinging and like the fight scenes and the choreography. But yeah, like everybody knows the story of like this trilogy. Everybody knows the story of Spider-Man. It's pretty much like our hero's tale from like the early 2000s. Like as a child, you watch this and you're like, "Oh my God, he's a loser and he gets these powers and he's in love with this girl and you know, any like little boy is always like, yeah, there's like a special girl in my life, and that's basically all this movie was Peter Parker like wanting to impress a girl. That's like half the movie right there. Um, and as a kid, you really resonate with that because I feel like so many kids are just like, you know, find the love of your life because that just is what is put constantly pushed on us all the time. But at the same time, I feel like love is very, very intense when you're a child, like aggressively so. Just because, I mean, you're not used to it, and you finally find it, or you think you do, and you feel it, and it's just like, wow, I'm all in on this person. And that's a big part of the movie. It's also about, growing up. He's in high school, he's going to college, or he wants to go to college. He's finally getting out in the world, and then he's getting these superpowers. These powers are, kind of like that parallel of like growing up and changing into somebody. And then it feeds into the whole Uncle Ben thing. It's like, well, who do you want to change into? You want to be a good person. Just because you can beat somebody up doesn't mean you should. You don't run away, but figure things out. And there's just a lot of good lessons in this movie. And then you can kind of flip the script to talk about Norman, right? And he's like, he's an adult, but he's obviously losing the battle in the adult world. Like his kids are getting away from him because he's too busy and they're not relating to each other. His company is going under because the projects aren't quite working out. There's actively business threats against him, threatening his own livelihood and his legacy and his son to a lesser extent. I think Norman's story is great because he goes all in, right? Like he does the tests on himself, and then of course that backfires too. So then his whole rest of his story, Norman's story, is fighting back, either trying to work with this new evil force inside of him or resist it, and he kind of fails all the way. And I was today years old when I found out that this scene right here, when he finally gets hit and he's like, "Oh," and then he gets hit, that's the Goblin like returning control back to Norman, and that's tragic to me. Norman, it's a big, I mean, they don't broadcast it as a sort of like a mental collapse, but that's really what it is just Norman Osborn losing his battle with the world and then seeping into himself to try to find this aggressive way to fight back, and he does, and unfortunately it doesn't work out for him. He literally destroys himself. William Dafoe did an amazing job on this character, like just outstanding. This speech, I've quoted this speech to myself like so many times. Granted, for the majority of my life, I was getting it wrong because when he's like, "You and I are not so different," Peter's like, "I'm not like you. You're a murderer." My whole life until like a month ago, I thought after he said, "You're a murderer," Green Goblin goes, "Well, 2 weeks or so." I thought he said that, but I saw the subtitles recently, and he says, well, to each his own, just encapsulated in this idea of like, well, I have the power. I'm going to do whatever I want with it. Reflecting back onto, um, Uncle Ben and Aunt May and trying to like be responsible. And they're really the earthly tether, right? Like you have the spider powers, you have Mary Jane is like the love interest, and a lot of people can relate to the love interest. That's why they're so popular as a story mechanic. Um, and you have the big evil and everything going to school and whatnot, but this is the family aspect of like, they're not his parents, but they pretty much are, right? He's like, well, I know I'm not your father. Well, stop pretending to be. That hits so hard, especially when you're older and you realize just how, like, when you put in effort for other people and then they just like hit you back, and it's like, well, I mean, I don't know what to do now. I'm in a box. Like I'm trying to figure things out with you, but you're pushing me away, and that hits a lot harder the older you get and the more like relationships you make or lose. The Uncle Ben scene with Peter is insanely hard. Like there isn't hardly any dialogue, but their performances were so good. I know Tobey Maguire, he gets kind of dunked on for, his faces and his meme ability, but this was a great scene, man. I tear up or cry like every single time I watch it. I don't know the Uncle Ben's actor off the top of my head, but that's probably the best death scene in media, or at the very least, the best death scene in comic book media. This nailed it right here. This scene. Action is one thing, but characters just interacting is where it's really at. Kirsten Dunst, which I didn't really go over her too much, but she is the love interest. She is the girl next door. Kind of the whole reason Toby does anything. If he didn't have a love interest in this movie, granted it's all about the writing, then he wouldn't have wanted to get the car, wouldn't have wanted to get the money, wouldn't have taken her picture to sit in that one spot so that the spider landed on him. His love for her that really pushes his character along, which makes sense. This movie, it's a comic book movie from the early 2000s. It's very much going to hang itself on action and like romance, because that what do kids want? That's who these movies were really catered to back then. There was still this stigma about comic book movies around this time, 2001, 2002. So it was like, oh yeah, comic book movies are for kids. But kids still generate a lot of money because who has to take the kids to the movie theater? The parents. I literally, oh wow, I can tell the story. My parents took me and my sister to see Spider-Man 1. We thought we were going to the bank. This movie, from start to finish, relatable. Everybody has felt like a loser at some point in their life. Everybody has felt like they're not enough. Everybody has probably wanted to get some sort of edge so that they could like boost themselves to kind of like become something more. Everybody has people that they respect and love and wouldn't want to lose. Everybody probably has a love interest, or at least somebody that they wish maybe noticed them a little more. Um, and then everybody has goals and aspirations, and sometimes they work out and sometimes they don't. And sometimes you end up fighting things that you weren't thinking you were going to end up fighting, personified in the Green Goblin. Like the action scenes are great. I like the New York community in the movie, how a guy with 8 hands sounds hot. He dresses like a spider. He looks like a bug. We should all just give him one big hug. J. Jonah Jameson, Whiplash guy, he was great. Super iconic, like comic book accurate to a T. And I really think that these movies right here, or at least the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man and everything, he is this Peter Parker to me. Like it makes so much sense. The physicality, even like the hair, and how he's like always in for Mary Jane, and how they both go like so far for stuff. They get real, emotional and into things. It just makes a lot of sense. Like they're one and the same almost to me. Like their stories could bleed together. In an alternate universe, their stories overlap and they're the same character to me. One other thing before I give this Spider-Man a rating. So, Spider-Man 1 is a great movie. It's an amazing movie. Spectacular movie. Is it the ultimate movie? Watching it as an adult, I realize that times are also kind of different, right? Like now people have more of a perspective and understanding about how women feel internally. And I just kind of wish Mary Jane had a little bit more going on with her story. I mean, like, yes, she gets a job and it's not the job she wanted, and she wants to be an actress, and her parents kind of suck. Like her mom, it just doesn't really do anything, but her dad is straight up abusive, right? So I mean, she has also a tragic story. Gets a job that she doesn't really want, and she dates Harry, and then she thinks she likes Peter. And then she's goosebumps for Spider-Man. Who wouldn't be? But I feel like it's kind of weak, right? Like I'm not sure what else you could do with it at this point in time for the character. Maybe at towards the end of the movie, like when she's talking to Peter, be like, "Oh yeah, I finally got an interview or something. I might be an actress one day. Somebody was watching me in acting class." Something like that would have been cool. Aunt May has also done really well. She's super, pillar of support, and the whole goblin scene with "Deliver us from evil," the horrible, horrible yellow eyes, like that was great. I feel pretty confident in giving Spider-Man 1. The shortcomings that I have for it aren't even really shortcomings, more so just like a reflection of the time, the storytelling of the time. But even then, they're still done fairly well. And when you go into this movie thinking, okay, I'm here to watch a comic book movie, I'm here to watch a origin story. There it is. Like this is it. How can I it's hard to get better than this, I think. And that's why I give it a 9.5.